On September 3rd, China has held a grand military parade to mark the 80th anniversary of its victory against Japanese aggression, also the global anti-fascist war. According to official reports, this is part of the efforts to uphold the post-World War II international order. What exactly does it mean? There's probably no better chance to ask this question than here at the Beijing Xiangshan Forum.
This is a high-level security forum hosted by China since 2006, joined by over 100 countries and organizations, where you can see delegates from both major powers like the US and Russia, as well as nations that are embroiled with conflicts, such as Israel and Ukraine. We pose this question to scholars of different backgrounds.
Uphold international order, and this is also the theme of this very event. How would you interpret this international order?
Well, I think it's very difficult to establish an international order through great power cooperation, because the great powers have fundamental conflicts of interest that will interfere with their ability to cooperate. And we have different values and different political systems. But I think it's critically important that we have support for institutions that can contribute to global development.
Give opportunity for all countries of the world to participate in global governance. Be ready to acknowledge that countries are different, and the countries have their different agendas, and the one country's agenda cannot and should not be forced globally. So I believe this is what the Chinese attitude is about.
Some people are saying that China is trying to build a new world order to challenge the so-called, the US-led, so-called rules-based global order. Do you think it's true?
Well, I think it's not true. When the US talk about the rule-based order, which is actually the order dominated by the US, reflecting the US values and interests. So that is not a universal order that other countries would welcome. And China is a major beneficiary of the current international order. So China has no interest in overthrowing the current order.
The US, of course, has been calling China and other big countries, so-called, you have to follow a law-based international order. But in reality, it is the United States that has undermined the law-based international order, right? For example, the U.S. flied to Iran to bomb its nuclear base, right? So that's very dangerous, very dangerous. One country, one big power can invade another country, right, for whatever reason. That's very dangerous.
That's power politics.
Yeah, that's power politics.
China does not accept the concept of, this quote-unquote rules-based order, which has been defined by the Western countries. So there are a lot of questions like who can define those rules, right? Who can interpret those rules, and which part of that is, which part of the so-called rules should all the country follow? So China's position, I think, is quite clear. We honor those be honored by United Nations, right? So China, I think, support the rules which be in the international system, in the UN system. That is the rules that we support. It's not the so-called Western rules-based order.